Well, good evening. I'm Robert A. Wilson with Cowboy Wisdom. I'm a hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, timeline coach, past regression specialist, author of several books, and one of them is called I Am Wisdom. And How Did I Teach Myself Fear, which I'll be talking about Thursday night. But tonight, I want to talk about a newly expansion that occurred in my life. It's victim control. And what I mean by victim control is remember when we was in the playground and somebody come up and wanted the toy and we were forced to give it to them, or we give it to them because they throw a fit? That's a victim of control. And today the world is rampant with victim control. It's like when you're at work or someplace and somebody comes up and asks you for something, you say no, and they can throw a fit, or they get mad and angry and say a bunch of derogatory things. That is trying to be the victim of control. And then you can be the victim of the scheme of their control is when you give in to them. And the word no is quite a unique word. As soon as you say no, and they have and start asking you why and a whole bunch of questions, and once you give and start answering the questions, you've lost your no and you become a victim of the scheme, and then you're a victim of caving into them. So as I open up to this, and I've used victim control in my life and I've been a part of it, but anger is a victim control thing, because when you get mad, usually when you get mad, it's because you didn't get your way or something in your life, and you try to get people to come to your way. That is a victim control. And if you watch the media and everything today, the victim control way of life is rampant in the system today. And as I go through this, and arrogance creates a victim of control, because usually the most popular person has a lot of, well, not always, but that's wrong. But somebody with arrogance, they want everybody to be like them. And then when you're not, that's a victim control. Bullying is a victim control, because they want people to follow them. So they have to be mean to somebody. And people fall prey to that. And that's what's going on in the world. But we get so caught up in the victim control in life, we forget to move forward. So as I opened up to this and see where it was in my life, and once you understand that you've been part of it and you played it, it's a liberation. It's an internal liberation. And as I went through the anger, the victim control in my life, it's like you'd be standing around at work or someplace, and 4 or 5 people would be standing there and something wasn't done right, and they all blamed the one person. And people with confidence are usually the ones that get blamed for the victim control, because people that are insecure want to play the victim role without even knowing it. And then we become into the control, and we try to get people to follow us. And another one is thinking, when I think I'm perfect and the world is messed up, I'm being a victim trying to control the world to be like me. So what I've really opened up to with this victim control thing for myself is stop falling prey to my own anger, frustration, and open up a listening and a more, not necessarily patience, but a more responsive way to live life. And that's a big one for me, because I did have a temper, and I really did get involved in this. And this is what I like about doing personal growth, because it's turned into an expansionism for me, because everything I now understand, everything occurs inside me that happens out there. So that victim control and falling victim to the scheme of their control is run rampant. And we watch it in politics. And when you was compared to somebody in school by a teacher, that ingrained being controlled by other people, because she's always taught to make other people happy and make people proud. It's really the pleasing others syndrome is a victim control, because once you do a favor for somebody, they're going to expect it every time. And that is something I really realized now and expanded up. You know, you try to be good to people and help people, and then the next thing you know, they need a hand, they need help, but you're busy. And then they get mad, frustrated, and say a whole bunch of mean things. Friends can get you into victim control easier than anything, because once you help somebody, and they expect it all the time, but how many times have you helped people and then when it come around to you, they didn't show up, they had excuses, and you okayed it? That's happened to me several times in my life. But the victim control is something that's an individual thing, and you got to see how it plays out and takes part in your life. Because for me, if you got a little swagger and you can walk through life with confidence, yet be gentle and show, you know, kindness to people, and actually the courage to be kind to people and gentle to people, people are going to play on that, and they're going to play the scheme of your being mean to them. When people say you're being mean to them and you're only being honest with them, that is where the victim control really comes into life. And as you open up and understand this, watch it, you can expand out of it. But you got to see how it's being played. It's got to be how it's taking place in your own life. But for me, as soon as I heard this, as soon as I was doing some writing the other day, and it come up to me, victim control. So what the heavens is that? And it played out, and I've used it to try to get my way, and I've been caught up in it. But once you understand that how you are a victim of your own life, and it isn't done intentionally, but it happens because when we was in that, and when we was younger, and somebody come up and wanted your toy, and you always made you share, the other person learned when they got mad, the other person was going to give into it. And we're instilled with this victim control from childhood. Sometimes it's not always making the kid give in to the other one. Sometimes it's make the other kid not do it. And that happened to me, and I can remember a lot of times in my life when somebody would say no to me, and then I'd get mad. And it happens in business all the time, and even in the NLP, there's a little bit of that. When somebody says no, they turn their head. It's in sales, it happens. And salesmen try to play on your victim. They try to play that victim control when they do that. And so this plays out in many, many places in our lives. So where do you see it in your life? Because once it opened up and see how that victim control, and I've witnessed it in my life, especially working with people that get selfish and other people want you to do something for them. But the victim control is about expanding out and understanding everybody has a right to live their life their way. And once you become liberated and free of it, you can start letting go of that victim control in us. And what that victim control does is never let you say no and mean it. And I learned at a young age, I've got to admit this, I learned how to manipulate the word no out of, I usually won. Ain't saying it's always right, but I won. And that is something that if I could tell parents today is never let that kid wiggle out of the word no. And if you say no, say no. And if they ask you a question, say no. Never come off of the no. Because once you give them a reason, and if somebody asks you to do something, and you say no, you can't, and they start asking you questions, and pretty soon you're caving in. You become a scheme of their victim, their victimitis, crapitis, and that is where the world really becomes kind of a different way of life. But it's really about opening up to yourself and being honest with yourself, not true to yourself, honest with yourself. Because truth can be misconstrued, but when you're totally honest with yourself, you let go of the victimitis stuff in your life. So when I was expanding through this, I started writing something today. It's called Chaotic Awakenings. And that's part of it, is understanding victim control. But another thing that happened in all this is when you start letting go of the victim control, you start seeing the world is begging for the people of the world to step up with inspiration and foresight to expand the world. And that's what we live. It's a chaotic awakening. And it's the chaos in the world is asking people to let go of being a victim of control by several things, and opening your inner heart eyes and your soul ears to hear the world asking for your wisdom, innovation, and talent to move your life forward. And once this starts being released and all comes free, you start seeing how talented and wise you really are, because we've been caught in a system of control, and it's a voiceless system that is holding us back. And that's what a victim control is, a voiceless system within ourselves. It happens, and until we bring it to the forefront and see it in our life, it'll never move. You'll never move off of it. So as I opened up to myself and had to admit, that's the biggest thing about this, I had to admit I was a professional at using victim control on other people. So if I don't like it done to me, I shouldn't be doing it to myself, and that is what it is. And it's also opened up to appreciate the word no, and understanding whatever your priorities in your life is what you do first. And the word no is an interesting word, because the word no means new opportunity for me. Because all that is that shut off. There's a new path, and you shut off the trails and the trials to open up the roads of riches to enjoy life, because there's no right or wrong in the world. There's just closed roads and open roads. And one's going to close, and the other one's going to open. As soon as you let go of being the victim in your life of any kind, the road's open, and you become the listener to success. And you open up the wisdom of yourself to express to the world. And the simplest way for me, anyway, and I'm going to explain to you my address, confess, bless, and express to the world. You address your challenges that are within you, that come up to you, and you confess them to yourself and get everything out in the simplest ways with pen and paper. Whatever's troubling you or challenging you, if you start writing it out and don't qualify it, good, bad, indifferent, you sit there and write for 15 minutes to an hour, that will come out. And then bless it for being part of your life. Then express it to the world, because we're all here to be the tutors and the metaphors for people to expand. Because the only teacher you have in your life is yourself. I'm the only teacher in my life. And Thursday, when I talk about how did I teach myself fear, my book, that is part of it. I am my teacher. I'm a student of my teachings. And the world and people are in metaphor. Metaphor and tutor, and never anything more, allows me to soar through life. And it's really about unleashing that energy within ourselves, because we have stored energy and we have reactionary retorts within us because of feelings and emotions that we covered over because we did things, especially helping others when you didn't want to. That is covered over. Every emotion, every feeling that you've ever covered over is playing out in your life today, but you got to address them and understand they're there, and let them, they'll show themselves to you so you can expand out of them. And that's a key word. You never want to change your life. You want to expand out of wherever you're at to expand of the omnific foresight to live your dreams your way. And a dream is nothing more than a dare to be better than you are today. And that is why the world is so stuck in it. We have to know before we go. And to dream, you got to live above and start getting a vocabulary that is above what you currently know. And it's called I call it the action visionary vocabulary of expand, enterprise, energize, and experience, because you'll never know anything until you experience the outcome of the dream or whatever you set, goal, intention, plans. I set outlines because a plan is everything you know and everything you think you can know. The experience shows you everything you never understood and opens your eyes to your own talents and wisdom to expand through life. So would you rather change your life or expand through life with a liberated internal freedom every day? That's when you release the control, being part of the victim control within you and playing to other people's victim control, because it's a very true thing. And if you watch the media, when them politicians are blaming each other, that's victim control. And it happens in sports and everything. And we've been taught that from the childhood till now. And so we can open the world up by letting go of our own victim control. And I am Robert A. Wilson with Cowboy Wisdom. I'm a hypnotherapist, NLP practitioner, timeline coach, and published author. And I'll be here Thursday night talking about my book, How Did I Teach Myself Fear? Because I taught myself everything. And by admitting that, I take responsibility and accountability for everything in my life. And I can open my eyes to the enterprising wise within myself. Thank you. And I appreciate everybody being here. And everybody, good night. And we'll see you Thursday.